Russia and Ukraine send more than 200 troops home in a new prisoner exchange.
China announces the end of 3 days of drills encircling Taiwan. An outbreak of violence in Northern Ireland as dissident Irish Republicans mark the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement.
A shooting in Louisville, Kentucky has killed at least 5 people and injured 8 others.
It's one of the rare positive moments of the war. Russia and Ukraine conducted a new prisoner exchange on Monday, with Ukraine repatriating this group of 80 men and 20 women. Ukrainian officials say about half of the returning troops have serious injuries or have been tortured. Russia also announced the return of 106 soldiers who were captured at the front and, according to Moscow, were in danger of death.
Какое настроение? Кому позвонил?
Кто?
Прям радость вообще, прям в России вообще. Что услышал родных и близких, жену, ребенка услышал.
Meanwhile, Russian troops continue to push deeper and deeper into Bakhmut. The Russia-backed leader of the Donetsk region, Denis Pushilin, on Monday visited a part of the city under Russian control. He said Moscow will rebuild once it conquers it completely.
Moscow may try to use the upcoming Orthodox Easter holiday on the 16th of April to delay Ukrainian counteroffensives by calling for a ceasefire out of respect for religion, the Institute for the Study of War says in its daily update. The Kremlin has selectively called for ceasefires around religious holidays to influence the situation on the front lines. Moscow, for example, refused a ceasefire during Orthodox Easter in 2022, quote, in order not to give the Kiev nationalists a break, unquote, during the Battle of Mariupol. The U.S. think tank says the Kremlin likely refused a ceasefire because Russian forces still held the initiative on the front lines at the time, but sought a ceasefire months later over Orthodox Christmas to obtain additional time to prepare Russian forces for winter offensive. Now, the Kremlin may call for an Easter ceasefire because such a pause would disproportionately benefit Russian troops and allow them to secure their gains in urban Bakhmut and to prepare defenses against Ukraine's spring counteroffensive. Ukrainian and Russian sources discussed the decreased rate of Russian offensive operations along the entire front line over the past weekend. Russian forces continued to conduct ground attacks in and around Bakhmut and on the Avdiivka-Donetsk city line. Russian forces likely made marginal gains in southern Bakhmut. The UK Defense Ministry says over the last 7 days, Russia has likely increased its armored assaults around the Donetsk region town of Mariinka. This is about 20 kilometers southwest of Donetsk city. Mariinka has been fought over since 2014 and has been largely destroyed by artillery exchanges. It commands the approaches to Donetsk and the Key Road. Russia continues to give a high priority to resourcing operations in the broader Donetsk sector, including the Mariinka and Avdiivka areas, expending significant resources for minimal gains. The Institute for the Study of War says the dynamics of battlefield artillery usage in Ukraine reflect the fact that Russian forces are using artillery to offset their degraded offensive capabilities.
China has announced the end of 3 days of drills encircling Taiwan. The declaration came after the Taiwanese Defense Ministry had reported multiple encroachments of warships into its tacitly accepted waters.
With no intention to escalate the situation, the ROC Armed Forces will uphold our sovereignty and maintain our national security in a composed, rational, and thoughtful manner. Meanwhile, our air defense units have remained on high alert.
Beijing says the drills were intended to build up peace and stability and as a warning against any move by Taiwan to claim formal independence.
我们希望国际社会充分认清台湾问题的实质，坚定恪守一个中国原则， 坚决反对各种形式的台独分裂活动。
Analysts say China's goal was to intimidate Taiwan by simulating an economic blockade. Russia has offered its support to Beijing, saying China had been provoked. An outbreak of violence as dissident Irish Republicans mark the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement in Northern Ireland. No one was injured in the petrol bomb attack on a police Land Rover, which had been monitoring the illegal parade. It was organised by a minority faction that opposes the peace deal as a betrayal of Irish Republican ideals.
The American city of Louisville, Kentucky is still reeling after a shooting at a downtown bank killed 5 people and injured at least 8 others. The main suspect, who appears to have been a former employee of the bank, is among the dead. But local police have not confirmed how he died. 2 people, including an officer, are in critical condition. The police say they arrived at the scene in minutes after witnesses reported seeing the suspect open fire inside the bank with an assault rifle. The FBI has said its agents are responding to the shooting. Thousands of Israeli settlers marched through the occupied West Bank on Monday to a former Jewish settlement that was evacuated 2 years ago. The massive demonstration was led by at least 7 members of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet, signaling the government's determination to accelerate settlement building in the occupied territories despite international opposition. Thousands of Israeli police and military forces were reportedly deployed to protect the march. They fired tear gas at Palestinians in a nearby village, who hurled stones at the soldiers to protest the demonstration. At least 2 people, including a journalist, were reportedly shot by Israeli rubber bullets. Also on Monday, Israeli troops killed a 15-year-old Palestinian teenager during a raid in a refugee camp near Jericho. An Israeli-British woman who was wounded in the West Bank on Friday in the Palestinian attack that killed her 2 daughters has also died. Tension is also high in Jerusalem after Israeli forces stormed the Al-Aqsa Mosque twice last Wednesday. Last Friday, Israel announced the mobilization of its reserve police units and military reinforcements.
At least 6 people are dead and several others injured after an avalanche struck the French Alps on Sunday. The snowfall took place shortly before noon near the Armancet Glacier on Mont Blanc, outside of resorts dedicated to winter sports. While the region is prone to avalanches, officials say this was one of the deadliest in years. Authorities say the death toll includes 2 mountain guides from Saint-Gervais. A 6th fatality was announced on Monday after authorities said they were still searching for a missing person.
Influencer Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan have been questioned by Romanian prosecutors and had their electronic devices searched. It's the first time the 2 brothers have left house arrest, where they were placed more than a week ago after being released from a 3-month-long detention. Tate and his younger brother and 2 Romanian women are under investigation for alleged human trafficking and rape.
The Dalai Lama has apologized after a video showing him kissing a child on the mouth and asking him to suck on his tongue went viral. On Twitter, a statement posted on the Tibetan Buddhist leader's account said that His Holiness often teases people he meets in an innocent and playful way, and that he regrets the incident. The video was filmed in February when the Dalai Lama was speaking to an audience. The boy asked if he could hug him. The Tibetan spiritual leader then invited him onto the platform when the incident took place. The clip then sparked a wave of outrage on social media over the weekend.
Ahead of King Charles III's coronation next month, preparations for the big day are full steam ahead. 2 coaches will be used on May the 6th. The more modern Diamond Jubilee state coach will take the King and Queen Consort to Westminster Abbey in the morning in time for the 11 o'clock ceremony. And the 260-year-old gold state coach will carry the royals back to Buckingham Palace.
This coach will be the centrepiece of the much larger and longer procession from Westminster Abbey back to Buckingham Palace on Coronation Day. The coach is huge. You might be able to tell that from how I'm standing beside it. It's nearly 4 metres tall, it's over 7 metres long. It weighs 4 tonnes. Because of that, it can only be used at a walking pace, which really adds to the majesty and the stateliness of this great royal procession.
After the solemn ceremony, the coronation procession will include armed forces from across the Commonwealth, the British Overseas Territories and the UK.
It's a tradition that dates back to pre-Christian times. Every Easter in this quaint Hungarian town of Holoka, young girls and women are drenched by full buckets of water. In the streets of the town, folk dancers wearing traditional clothes watered the women in order to, as the story goes, purify them.
Tisztítás, az mindig foglalkoztatta az embereket. Nem csak a magyarokat, hanem az egész földkeresség emberiségét. És ez egy ilyen tisztítás, egy tavaszi megújulásnak a jelképe. Ez a locsolkodás, a lányok pedig, hát ugye, mint a család, őrzői, védői és továbbvivői. Ezért kell, hogy őket megtisztítsuk és meglocsoljuk.
Unlike its ancient form, this yearly tradition is now consensual and is mostly done with perfume.